Michael's Youth Group
from West End, New Jersey,
connecting faith and life.
And you're watching
Realfaith TV.
Caring for something means to me that you have to be nice to it, and for example, caring for the environment means that you pick up any trash and throw it away properly, and it not only positively affects me but everyone else in my community.
I would say sometimes we do, not just me, everyone forgets to turn off the water, and sometimes we might have littered once or twice, and I feel like ways to stop it is just to do the simple things. If you have garbage, throw it away. If you're brushing your teeth, you should turn off the water and try to preserve it instead of wasting it.
I do consider myself a person who cares for the earth, and because for the reason that I try to pick up my trash and anybody else's trash and properly throw it away whenever possible.
Recycle, don't put plastic bottles in a garbage can.
And turning off the lights or the faucet.
Care for animals, plants, just do the simple things. Nothing's independent, we're all a unit, and I think we need to show more awareness towards our environment, because if we don't, things are going to slowly diminish and we're not going to be that full unit anymore.
So Joe, are you a tree hugger?
What do you mean? Do I go around hugging trees?
No, I mean, do you care about us and the whole environment?
Yeah, of course. I do believe we have to protect the whole environment and everyone and everything in it.
Me too. I think it's really important to care for all creation.
And guess what, Corey? So does the big guy, Pope Francis. He cares so much about creation that he wrote a whole letter about why we should care for the earth. It's called Laudato Si.
Yes, I've heard about this letter, or what the church calls an encyclical. It's called Laudato Si, which in English means, praise be to you, my Lord.
Caring for creation, our common home. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Joe.
And I'm Corey.
And this is Realfaith TV.
We'd like to thank the youth group from St. Michael's Church in West End, New Jersey for helping us open the show today.
And for sharing the kinds of things they do to care for the environment.
We'll hear from them again as part of our Wild Card segment. But first, let's meet Vince Scheuerman.
Vince is a singer and songwriter, most recently lead singer for the band Army of Me.
Although not officially labeled as a Christian artist, Vince is an artist whose songs inspire and uplift the human spirit.
He's a big fan of Pope Francis and his letter on caring for creation.
He'll talk about his love for nature and the ways he tries to be a better steward of the earth.
I am someone that does love and care for the earth. When I was in college, I got a job working at a fly fishing lodge right outside Yellowstone Park. And so I spent 2 summers in the most beautiful place in the world to me. I've always just loved soaking up the beauty of nature and the rivers and the animals and wildlife. And so I've just always loved nature, loved creation, loved the mountains, just how big they are and how little they make you feel, and the rivers and waters always refreshed me. I try my best to care for creation by recycling and not being wasteful, not littering, and only using as much as I really need of certain things, food, resources. We're all here together in the context of the universe, this little tiny planet. We're so lucky to be alive, so fortunate, so blessed to, have an opportunity to live, and we all share this place together. How I leave it for you matters, and how you leave it for me, and how we leave it for the people to come after us. It affects their lives, it affects their happiness, it affects them. So as much as we share this place together, it's important that we look after it and make it as nice as it can be for each other.
Yeah, just like how Vince went to Yellowstone, my family actually also went out to Yellowstone last August. Me, my sister, and my parents, my brothers. And I agree with what he said about how nature can be refreshing and can open your eyes to new things you haven't seen before. And nature's just a great way to just let go of your stress and just get to know yourself and find yourself.
Yeah, I definitely think what he said about how only taking as much as you need sort of plays a part into that, because us, we're average, normal teenagers, we can obviously do those little things to make the environment better.
Let's see what our studio guests have to say about this topic.
Okay, they are Lexi,
Caroline,
Mateo,
Rose,
and Alec.
So why do you think it is important to be environmentally conscious and care for the earth and everything on it?
I think it's important because, like you said, we're leaving it for the other generations, and how we leave it for him and how he leaves it for us can affect the quality of life for each other. So it's very important that we make sure to only use what we need and not to waste it, because being teenagers, we can waste a lot of things. And I think some of us, and including myself, we can learn not to.
Yeah, I agree with what Rose said, because God gave us this earth as a gift. And same thing as if you were to get a gift on Christmas, you're not going to ruin it, you're going to take care of it, just like we need to take care of the earth.
Yeah, I totally agree. God gave us this earth so we can soak in all its beauty and what it has for us, so we should respect it, not trash it.
We're only going to be here for a short amount of time, and the earth is going to be hopefully around much longer than we are, so we at least have to, while we're here, we have to make it as good as possible. And once we're gone, hopefully we made a good enough impact to make it last much longer.
We probably don't have to look far to see the effects of waste and materialism in our society.
We may be more concerned about our stuff than the relationships we have with one another.
Many of us take for granted our daily overconsumption of water and food.
And don't think about the lack of food and clean water that's prevalent around the world.
We can fall into a trap of putting too much value into our belongings and way of life,
rather than the way we view the earth and one another.
Next, our spotlight guest Vince talks about the distractions of materialism.
And that we need to acknowledge our important place in God's creation.
I have a lot of things that, make my life comfortable. I have clothes to wear, I have food to eat, I have a car to drive, I have a house that I live in. I love being able to go on an airplane so I can fly to New York City. I like a road that doesn't have holes in it. There are things that we have and that we rely upon. And I'm not saying that none of those I think are bad things, but we're all part of creation ourselves, and we all live here together in a common home. It affects your life. It affects the entire world. The more that we use resources and the climate changes and gets hotter and the seas rise and people lose their homes on the coastlands, and if we all are coming together as one human family, doing something about it. I think that's why it's a spiritual issue, is because we're told to love our neighbors. So part of loving our neighbors would be trying to make a nice place for them to live, and their children and my children and other people. I mean, there are some things that if you read about people who really take the environment seriously, they go to some great lengths to make their carbon footprint, so to speak, smaller. So maybe what some things I can do better are to learn more of those techniques and to take it seriously about really trying to actually care for the environment, not just say, yeah, let's care for the environment, that's an awesome thing, but think about and research some ways to actually do that.
So what would it take for you to really step up and care for God's creations?
It would be going out and even just seeing what God has created for all of us to enjoy. I know I love going camping with my friends or family and just being able to sit on the lake and look at the beautiful trees or scenery or sunset or whatever else there is.
Yeah, like what my brother said before, last August, my family, we took a road trip. We went cross country and we went to the Grand Canyon, Arches, Yellowstone, and we got to see the nature that we would never experience before. And it was amazing, and breathtaking to see what God created. And I know my favorite part was going to Badlands in South Dakota, and we would just look up in the sky and see billions of stars, and it was just breathtaking to see what this is what God created.
Yeah, I think we need to really experience nature to be able to actually want to take an active part in protecting it. You can't just sit on your computer and say, or go simply into your backyard and say, wow, my backyard's beautiful, the nature's beautiful around here, you know, I think I should protect the environment. You actually need to go out more and like push yourself to experience even more parts of nature that you wouldn't previously have experienced, to want to actually protect it.
Yeah, like Joe said, I think that when you experience nature and you have a little bit more respect for it and the gift that God gave you. And usually what I would do was with my dad, we would sometimes go bird watching in this little outing area. I would really look at the birds and I'd feel like I don't want to ruin their environment.
When we think about how the earth will be left for the next generation, it makes me want to help take care of it because, and like Caroline said before, this is a gift, and if you destroy that gift or you leave it poorly for the next person, well then that's not good on your part. So I know I would definitely want to make sure that it would never get that way and that, you know, future generations can enjoy the earth for what it was originally.
In the first 2 chapters of the book of Genesis, we read about the story of creation.
God creates the heavens, the earth, night, day, birds, fish, trees, and of course, human beings.
As human beings, we are considered the pinnacle of God's perfect creation.
We are entrusted to be responsible stewards of the earth.
This means being conscious of everything the earth provides for us, the air, the water, the soil, and its various resources.
It means being respectful of the animals He gave us dominion over.
Making sure we leave a cleaner, more habitable world for future generations.
This is called care for creation and is an essential component of the Catholic social teaching.
Essentially, we imitate God's respect for His creation in the way we care for ourselves and one another.
When Hurricane Sandy devastated the New Jersey coastline in fall of 2012, many residents were impacted.
Our wildcard guest Luke was. He'll give us some insight into how the rebuilding efforts helped him to understand this tenet of our faith.
Let's hear him now.
I think this area really has an understanding of what it means to care about your environment because about 3 years ago, Hurricane Sandy hit us pretty hard and there were many people out of their homes, even out of their towns. They had to move. There was water damage. The boardwalk was a mess. Everything was a mess. There were power outages. People really, I think, got together, decided they wanted to fix the environment, care for it better so that we were better prepared for things like that. Also, I think that we gained a better spiritual understanding because with no electronics to use, we kind of had a chance to connect with God and get together and, you know, be spiritual and be thankful for what we had and thankful for the lives that we were living.
So why do you think taking care of creation is part of the Catholic social teaching? Why is this a spiritual issue?
Well, as Catholics, we're all about God, and God is all about creation. And I think as Catholics, we are called to care for creation.
And God didn't just create us in New Jersey, He created everyone, so we should take care of everyone.
Absolutely, and then that sort of goes to saying, like, love your neighbor as yourself. So we are called also to love everyone and treat them with respect.
We also have to remember that, you know, we ship most of our waste off to like impoverished countries like India and everything. And I mean, Jesus once said, like, whatever you do to the least of my brethren, you do to me. So our purpose as Catholics is to care for the poor and care for the impoverished. And if we're just dumping all our waste and, you know, sending it to these impoverished countries, we're not fulfilling what Jesus wanted us to be as Catholics. So we need to realize that producing all this waste, having such a throwaway culture, really just goes against everything Jesus told us. We need to learn as Catholics to be less of a throwaway culture and learn to, you know, conserve our resources and, you know, watch out for the impoverished countries.
Pope Francis' encyclical challenges people across the earth to unite in the common cause of caring for creation.
In it, he said our relationship with the environment can never be isolated from our relationship with others and with God.
There is a lot of common ground we, as Catholics, can find with conservationists.
Just like our faith, caring for creation is something that shouldn't just get our focus sometimes. It's something we need to incorporate in everything we do.
It's not easy, but it's definitely worth it for us.
Next, Vince talks to us about how Pope Francis made the case for caring for creation during his recent visit to the United States.
Let's hear from him now.
I'm a fan of Pope Francis for coming here and talking about issues in front of Congress and in front of the UN. And he was kind of surprising the way he did it too, which I love that. It was a challenge, I think, to myself of like, you know, here comes the Pope, who is the leader of Catholics, and he talked about like 5 or 6 different issues. And he made a case when he spoke to the UN that caring for the environment is actually like a life issue, because there are people in our world who don't have resources. They're suffering because of that, and that a lot of times with our economy and with corporations overusing resources and being greedy and trying to make as much money, and what they do is they end up taking away from other people, a lot of times the people that don't have things, and they end up being discarded. And if that is really true, that being greedy about our environment makes other people suffer, that's such an important reason to care for our environment all the more. It's important to realize how good we have things here and not take that for granted, but also there are so many people that don't have that. And for us to be responsible with what we have and not to be greedy, and to look out for other people too, and other situations where somebody doesn't have clean drinking water, is drinking out of a well a few counties over, and we're watering our lawn.
So how can you advocate and show care for those who do not have their basic needs met? How can you guys help?
Well, for me at my church, we have these little coin boxes that like you build, and then you put money in it for countries that are like starving, that don't have like the basic needs. And I love putting my money in it. I've been doing it for years, because on the box it says like for $10 you feed a child for 2 months. And I just love like that I'm doing something, that I'm helping someone.
Adding on to what Lexi said, so as she said, the $10 that those people have, and it feeds them for 2 months, for me, I would blow that with just probably like one meal at some kind of fast food place. I mean, and most people do that here in our community today.
I know, it's crazy to think about the difference between how much $10 does for us compared to how much $10 does for other people.
And I definitely see the connection, because if you look at it, how a $10 can feed a person for 2 months, whereas $10 can feed us for like 2 hours. But in that same way, that's why it's so important that we all give each other resources and we all stay connected in that way, and we all care for God's creations.
So something that I did a while back, in my grammar school, we did an adopt a spot thing. And so what we did was we got to the place, it was in Bayhead, and what we did was we cleaned it up. So when we first got there, there was a little trash over there. You had trash on the ground. There's like fishing lines everywhere. So what we did was we picked it up, and we put it in a bunch of like garbage bags, and then we raked the sand so it looked nice and stuff, and we kept it clean for a while. And so now every time I see like garbage lying around on the beach or something, or anywhere else, I'd go pick it up and I'd throw it away out of like instinct now.
Yeah, and I feel like if one person starts cleaning up, other people are going to see them and be like, oh, hey, I should do that too. And, you know, one by one, it's going to be like almost like a domino effect, and, you know, we're all like connected.
Before we set off to share God's love with others, we must first accept His love in our lives.
You've probably heard the phrase, you can't give what you don't have.
If we really understand that we are made in God's image and likeness, we will live in the way that reflects that truth.
This means taking care of our bodies by eating right, exercising, and getting enough sleep each night.
It means taking care of our souls through attending Mass, receiving the Eucharist, and making time for prayer.
Taking care of our whole person, body, and soul will nourish us so that we can go out and share God's love with others.
Lastly, our spotlight guest Vince relates creation to writing songs
and shares a passage from Scripture that he feels we should look to when caring for creation.
As a songwriter myself, I know that I really love the songs that I write. Usually when I put a song on an album, it almost feels like a child that I created. I imagine that creation is kind of like God's song that He wrote. And so He cares a lot about it and would love it if we did our best to take care of it. There's one passage that I like where Jesus talks about, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, what you will wear. He says, look at the birds in the air. They have what they need. And how much more will your Heavenly Father care for you? And look at the flowers in the field. They're better dressed than Solomon in all of his glory. See how God cares for the grass of the field. How much more will He care for you? I like those images of nature, of the birds and the flowers, and that God cares for those things and He cares for us. the thing he says about, like, don't worry about what you're gonna eat and what you're gonna wear, and don't worry so much about, like, all these things.
I like that Vince emphasized on the fact that God's song is really the fact of creation, because, I mean, think about it. With all the like you said, with all the flowers and the grass and everything, we're part of that. We're all of His nature, so we can really feel what it's like to be in God's life and to have Him in ours. So,
yeah, we're all a part of God's great gift.
Recently, I was on my phone researching certain like brands for cosmetics, and I found out some of the like very well-known brands have been testing on animals. And I think that's a really good example of not caring for creation, because they're taking animals and they're just testing on them, which isn't okay. It's really unethical.
So, like, something that I've done, I did a little research. I did a research project in school too, and I found out that technology, like our technology and stuff, where it goes when we're done with it, when we throw it out and goes into like landfills, and the battery acid and all the chemicals used in it, like, will go into the environment. It'll start killing the environment. So what I've done was like all the cell phones and like all my old cell phones that we have, we keep me and my family, we keep them in like a drawer, and so if every single phone that we had is in that drawer. And we're like waiting to find like a place that we can like send them to, and so they can dispose of them properly.
Yeah, it's the little things that people do, like you said with the phones, even like setting a timer for the shower to make sure you don't stay in there too long, even though that sounds silly, or just turning off the water when you're brushing your teeth. Little things make a big difference.
Yeah. Like, our generation is all about phones and social media, and like there's one thing, like retweeting a tweet that says like save the world, you know, save nature or whatever, but you have to take the extra step and actually do it, you know what I'm saying?
And definitely that reminds me of a quote that came up, and it said, if all the insects disappeared off the earth in 50 years, Earth would be destroyed. But if humans all disappeared from the earth in 50 years, the planet would flourish. And so I think that definitely does say something about humans and our carbon footprint. We're not caring for the earth as much as we should. We should be able to, you know, say that we are a big factor in helping the earth.
Yeah, I mean, we have the ability to do so much more for this earth, but instead we just drain its resources, and we just misuse its resources altogether. I mean, conflicts are erupting nowadays all the time because of the lack of resources in some areas of the world. And as humans, we need to learn to, you know, accurately use the resources that are given to us while still maintaining a perfect environment around us. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, Jesus calls us to love your neighbor as yourself.
Every person is our neighbor, whether they live next door or around the world.
To live out Jesus' command, we must advocate and seek to meet the basic needs of shelter, food, and water for all people.
We must advocate and assist with education and freedom of religion for all people.
We must uphold the dignity of life at all stages.
A consumerist mentality says people are only valuable for what they can produce.
This excludes those with physical and mental disabilities.
Catholicism and care for creation does the opposite. It includes every single person as worth of dignity and respect.
So how can you be a better steward of God's creation?
We want to hear from you.
Contact us at realfaithtv.com.
Or share your thoughts with us on Twitter.
That's a dove, Corey. You're supposed to know your environment.
Sorry, it's like almost the same thing.
That's true, yeah. And we will leave you today with this final thought.
Care for creation is a beautiful way of looking at the world.
We look at the world the way God looks at His creation.
In doing so, we can uphold the dignity of humanity and encourage respect for the earth and its resources.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Realfaith TV. God bless.
You're the best kept secret in my generation. The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks. Visit us at stoptextstoprex.org.
Oh, listen now. Can you hear the bluebirds? Oh, look up now. Can you feel the sun?
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work, show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up one finger if you're a man, women, 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
Listen to me. I am captain of the track team. And if I'm late,
She doesn't really think she's going to get out of here, does she?
be nice. She's new. Hello, is anyone there? Ugh!
Wow. Even from our standards, you look awful.
Oh, sweetie, what happened? Me? My friend Becky got to talk to this super cute boy, and I tried to act like I wasn't jealous, but I so totally was. And then out of nowhere, this concrete barrier just popped up. Maybe it was a semi.
You mean you were driving?
Yeah. I mean, I know the whole eyes on the road thing, but this was a super important text. Maybe you have to know, Becky.
Texting? Great.
But it was only like 5 seconds, and I'm a really, really fast texter, so it wasn't even a big deal. Actually, has she texted me back yet? Wow, I get like no bars in this place. I wonder if they have Wi-Fi here.